Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland Reviewer, and welcome to Lost in the Wasteland, where I have a guest on each week and we have a little interview and get a little bit more perspective on their perspective on films. And I have Foster here, my fellow writer from SiftPop, who's on for his second round. So, Foster, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And I think you know the drill at this point. If you'd like to shamelessly plug anything, go right ahead.
Sure. Letterboxd, Twitter, both of those are FOSTH101.
And there you go.
There you go.
And so we're off to the races. So for my first question, so what's a previously released film that you haven't seen yet that you're most excited to catch and check out?
So I'm 22, which means there's still a lot that I'm excited.
There you go.
I think my list of shame, like the ones that I'm embarrassed not to have seen, is public on Letterboxd. So like if you're really curious, there's a lot of titles on there. But like the big ones that come to mind are just some of the franchises, because like it's easy to. One of the reasons I like movies is because you can just knock it off in 2 hours, as opposed to like a TV show, which can take you forever. So like some of the big franchises are harder for me to get to just because there's so many of them. So like I really like horror movies, but I've never seen a Friday the 13th movie. So that's one that I'm really excited to do.
Okay.
I've seen the first Nightmare on Elm Street, but I'm excited to go through those as well. And I'm thinking like whenever I do both of those, I want to do them at the same time to culminate in Freddy versus Jason. Is that it? So
it's funny because I grew up, I was never liked horror movies because I'm afraid of them, but my brother just loves slasher movies. So he's watched every single Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. But I remember watching Freddy versus Jason just being like, what is this?
Yeah.
Because like, I don't know, that didn't really scare me that much. But the one that, so out of all the Nightmare on Elm Street ones that I've seen, which to be fair, I've seen 3, I guess. The first one, Freddy versus Jason and Freddy in the Wes Craven's New Nightmare, that one, like, holy crap, that scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, I've heard lots of good things about that one. So I'm slowly making my way through all the big horror franchises. Like I just did the Screams and the Halloweens. I've done like the Aliens and the Predators and I did all the Jaws movies and all the Psycho movies.
No.
Yeah, the Jaws ones. Yikes. The Psycho movie. Have you seen the Psycho sequels?
No, I did add Psycho 2 to my watch list. So I will be checking that out. Because like honestly, I heard decent things about it.
It's really good. It's weirdly good. I mean, it's strange that it's a sequel to Psycho because like it's kind of different, and it's like Psycho's a perfect movie in my eyes. Psycho 2 is really good, like as a genuine thriller. So
I feel like it's one of those kinds of things where it's just like it's not a Hitchcock film, and it's just like why would they make a sequel to this? And like it could be really good, and I've heard good things about it, so it's on my watch list. I've seen a lot of the Halloween movies only because I would sit there and watch them with my brother. So, but I do own the first 2 Halloweens, and then the 2018 that that first Halloween came out. But you know, there's just so many of them. So I'm excited to hear your thoughts once you get around to checking out some of the other ones.
Yeah.
Now, shifting this to things that haven't come out yet. So, Foster, what film that hasn't released yet are you most excited for?
Okay, so I'm picking one, not just one that's coming out like this year, but just one that's been in development for a while, because this is I'm really I would love for this to happen. For the longest time, Robert Eggers has talked about doing a remake of Nosferatu. And apparently Anya Taylor-Joy is involved in some way too. This is so exciting to me. I like the original Nosferatu a lot. There has been a remake. Yes. Werner Herzog did a remake.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
70s. It's really good, I think. They're both good. And it's the idea of having Robert Eggers' creepy lighthouse or the Vivitch I'm so excited for the Northman. That could also be an answer to this question. Like those crazy visuals with Nosferatu that's going to be nuts, I think. So that's my like real most anticipated of all time in the future.
I'm not surprised based off of how much he loves horror and like folk horror and stuff like that. And a side recommendation, if you haven't heard or seen of this, Shadow of the Vampire.
Yeah, I need to see it, but I knew it the moment you said it.
Oh my God. Because, like, for those who haven't heard of it, it is like a film about the making of Nosferatu. But what if Max Schreck was actually a vampire? And Willem Dafoe's in it, John Malkovich is in it, Carrie Elwes is in it. I'm just like, this is wonderful. I love that movie. It is so great because it has such a weirdly dark sense of humor about it too. And like Willem Dafoe is just great in anything, but like he's great as Max Schreck, aka Nosferatu. And of course, his cameos in SpongeBob, which also, if anybody's watched Camp Coral, they have a kid version of Nosferatu that pops up in an episode of it. I'm just like, are you kidding me? What is this? But not gonna lie, almost thought you were gonna say Avatar 2.
I'm also pretty excited for that. I think, okay, this is going on the internet, so maybe I'll regret this. I think people are gonna be like kind of shocked at how good it is, because like James Cameron has changed cinema like 4 times over.
Yeah,
he's been sitting on this one for like 10 years.
So, it better be.
Like, yeah.
Like, I know narratively, I didn't think Avatar was that fresh or interesting because, they went with a very basic, like, you've seen this trope before kind of thing, but you can't argue with like the action and the effects and everything. And it's so interesting watching The Aviator this morning and watching Howard Hughes like transcend film and just change technology. I'm just like, oh, so James Cameron is now Howard Hughes.
Yeah.
He's like, I want to make this movie underwater. I'm going to make all this technology to make movies underwater.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he's not the one making a movie in space, to be perfectly frank. But, but I will say Avatar 2 is exciting once I actually see a trailer for it and know it exists.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's filmed and they're just like finishing touches now from what I've heard, because I watched this interview with him and Denis Villeneuve where they're talking about it, and I think he's filmed that one and the third one or something. Like he's far along in the process, so like it's happening. I think
it has a release date in December this year, so it's like, will it? I will believe it when there's a trailer. I'm at that point. Now, which is interesting, Foster, because you did talk about a remake already. But if there is a film that you think you would wish that would be remade, what film would that be?
Okay, so I know a lot of people are like kind of grumpy about remakes. I am not one of those people. I'm fine with remakes as long as there's some sort of passion behind it. Like I actually think remakes are kind of interesting. Like, I mean, Shakespeare's a good example because they've adapted those plays 5 million times.
Yep.
I think that's fun. Like, I love comparing, like, how do 2 different actors or 2 different directors do the same lines of dialogue or the same scenes? Like, that's really interesting to me. So that's my pre whatever, you know what I mean? Okay, so I do think like remaking some of the silent movies could be interesting, which is why I'm kind of excited about the Nosferatu remake. But to get away from that, I came up with a pick that I'm pretty happy with. Because Spielberg did such a good job with West Side Story, I'm going to let him direct a remake of Newsies. That's my pick.
Okay.
Because I feel like stylistically, I feel like could be done in a similar vein, and I like the music from Newsies. I kind of like the original Newsies anyways, but I mean it's not exactly a classic in the same vein as the original West Side Story, but I feel like he would do a really great job with that, and I think it would be fun, and it would make me happy to have like a very nice Newsies adaptation.
Wasn't Christian Bale in Newsies?
Yes, he was.
So what they have to do then is pull a Rita Moreno and bring Christian Bale back as a different character so that he could be in this Newsies remake.
Yep.
Now we just need the money. Yeah. So we just need to line this up, go talk to Steven Spielberg. Amblin can do it. We got this. Now we're going to remake it. Now, I know the first time I had people on to the show talking about your earliest memories of going to the movies, but in a time where not everybody's really back to going to the movies, I want to hear people's fondest memories of going to the movies. So, Foster, what's your fondest memory of going to the movies?
Okay, here's one where I just have to rattle off a couple because I can't pick one. The first one I can think of is Interstellar, because that is the first movie I saw in IMAX, which is a great choice, and happens to be the only seats available, happens to be really close to the front. But that kind of added to it, because like the first time, yeah, exactly. But like the scene with those aren't mountains, they're waves. That's McConaughey. That was incredible. Like I remember that so vividly, and the sound, it's so loud. I mean, you can't even like hear all the dialogue sometimes. It's so glaring. But like,
wait, are you saying that this is a Christopher Nolan movie?
No. But that was amazing for me, and so that was a really cool experience. And then ever since then, I've tried to see like lots of the major, like Christopher Nolan, or something like First Man I saw in IMAX.
And Moonfall.
No, I did not see Moonfall in IMAX. I saw that in Dolby.
Okay,
that was interesting. You can hear like in Moonfall, like some of the people near me, you could just hear them like silently chuckling to themselves, but trying not to make noise because it's just so dumb.
I'll be experiencing that tomorrow.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress.
Good luck. Okay, another one that was really exciting is Baby Driver, because I mentioned this to you briefly last week, but I saw Edgar Wright do a Q&A, like literally the day before or something. He posted something online, going to be doing a Q&A at this random Regal theater in New York City. And so I had no one who would want to go with me to this. So I was like, Mom, you are bringing me to this. And then we went and saw Edgar Wright after Baby Driver. And so that was really exciting, because I love Edgar Wright. He is my favorite director. And he's really funny. Yeah, like Q&As in general, I'm learning people ask really dumb questions and you can tell they just want to talk, but Edgar is really funny, so he has kind of snarky responses sometimes.
What was the dumbest question from that Q&A?
So the really dumb ones are the ones where you can't even tell what the question is. It's just they kind of ramble. So one person was like, I have to blame you for ruining my childhood because I saw Shaun of the Dead at too young of an age and it traumatized me, or something like that. And Edgar Wright was like, I think that's on you. Like your nasally high-pitched British great voice. But that was pretty funny.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then
that's Edgar Wright's fault for somebody not watching.
I know, like, also, why are you're in front of like 300 people? I don't think these people realize. I just saw another Q&A yesterday. Actually, I saw Worst Person in the World. With the director and the lead actress, whose names I'm not going to butcher. But yeah, yikes! People ask such weird questions.
I imagine it was a very interesting conversation with Joaquin Trier, because I don't know. I just imagine that like anything that you'd possibly ask him might be an interesting conversation. There's certain directors where I wish that I could just ask questions and see how weird their responses to questions might be. But
yeah. My third, and I'll make this my final best theater experience. A few months ago with my sister, I went to see Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar. This is after its theatrical run from the beginning of 2021. It came back in like August or September or something. And so by that point, it had already started to develop like a little mini cult status. So like all the people who are in the theater were people who are already fans of Barb and Star, except my sister had not seen it. But I just know my sister and knew that she's going to love this movie. It's completely up her alley, completely up my alley. It's like our sense of humor is perfectly aligned with this movie. That was so fun.
I just rewatched it on Sunday.
It's the best. Yeah.
Girls on the Beach.
Yeah.
That whole musical number with Jamie Dornan
so good.
is so great.
Yeah, especially because like he's lying on the bed and it's kind of like a sad moment, and then he just turns burn in like right to the camera. It's like, what is happening? But that was amazing, because like everyone was into it in the theater too, and it like really beats watching it alone at home.
It's interesting.
That's one of my fondest memories.
It's interesting seeing films that are being like re-released, and you have fans and stuff like that And you can have the opposite where it's like, I went to go see Vertigo for its 75th anniversary. And the guy, two like high schoolers behind my friends and I were laughing at how stupid the hallucination interlude was. I'm like, I wanted to turn around and smack them. I just like, you little craps.
Yeah.
This is a masterpiece. I'd wind up on the internet.
Yeah, I'm so sensitive to noises in the theater. I am silent. I don't do anything. I'm like hesitant to even adjust in my seat. I'm just any little noise drives me insane.
I'm a pretty passive person watching like anything. I'm even that way with sports. Like I'll sit there and like I don't like cheer obnoxiously or anything like that. And like
Yeah.
my other brother John, who's a close family friend, gets annoyed with me when I don't react to things in the theater. I remember at the end of Infinity War, I just sat there like with like my mouth open. He's like, say something. Because like him and my brother were just like, what the F just happened? And I'm just like sitting there like silently shocked. And he's just like, but you know, interesting experiences in the theater. Mm-hmm. Now, what's a film that you have seen that completely exceeded all of your expectations going in?
Okay, I had to do a lot of digging for this one.
Okay.
I am normally really good at thinking about or predicting what I'm going to think about a movie ahead of time. And usually what happens is I'll overhype a movie and then it doesn't quite live up to it. That happens like 5 times a week. But one that really I thought was going to be like a 7 out of 10, like decent time, and ended up being like one of my new favorite movies is Little Children with Patrick Wilson, Kate Winslet, Jackie Earle Haley. That's one that I thought like, this is such a random movie. No one ever talks about this. I was watching because I was going through a bunch of Kate Winslet movies. This is a great movie. I would compare it to American Beauty. That's what it really reminds me of. It feels kind of like a book. It also has a Thomas Newman score that's kind of similar. And it's like the web of interesting characters who are all kind of morally ambiguous, you know.
Yeah, it has that like suburban story.
Yeah.
With like this seediness kind of below it. Yeah. And I think the reason I checked it out in the first place when I checked it out also had a very similar experience of like, I did not expect to like this movie as much as I did. Yeah. Was I'm pretty sure it was because of Jackie Earle Haley.
He is so good in this movie. He is amazing.
Yeah. And like Kate Winslet's just great, which also on a weird side note, I'm reading The Reader. And like I've seen the film and just like sitting there, I'm like, that movie, it's like, it's about Nazis and the Holocaust and then sex.
Yeah. There's like a turn midway through the movie.
And I'm reading the book and I'm like, this is saucy. And then it turns into this procedural drama in a courtroom, just like, and now it's sad. And it's just like, but like Kate Winslet's always a great addition to most things.
And when The Reader came out, that was like a double whammy of that and Revolutionary Road, right? Like in the same year. She's amazing. She's so good.
She is so good. Mare of Easton.
Yeah.
Or the Dirter Murders, depending on if you watched the SNL skit about it.
I did watch it.
Now, Foster, I don't know if you're a big reader. As we're just talking about things that I'm reading. But is there a specific written work that you would love to see adapted into a film?
Okay, yes. I do like to read. I don't read it as much as I like to think that I do, but I have one. I would go with The Long Walk by Stephen King.
Oh.
Have you read this?
I have not. I went on like a reading hiatus for like a year and a half. But where I got to the point where I'm like, wait a minute, I started this book a year and a half ago. I should probably finish this. But before that, I was jumping into some Stephen King. Like I read Carrie and Pet Sematary, but I haven't heard of this one.
So this, I think it's the first thing he's ever written. Like it's when he was going under a pseudonym. It's like Richard Bachman is his name.
Yes.
That he went under. I think so. It's a it's a fairly short book. It's not like It or anything like that, which is like
I've also read that.
yeah, I have too. That one, you know, if you're in a bind, it also doubles as a murder weapon. That's how big it is. Yes. So The Long Walk, I think it would work really well as like a short 90-minute movie with like no fluff. The premise is there. I'm just gonna read this. I actually have it open in the tab rather than me stumbling over my words.
There you go.
Okay, in a dystopian America, a major source of entertainment is The Long Walk, in which 100 teenage boys walk without rest. If they fall below a pace of 4 miles per hour, they receive 3 warnings and are subsequently shot by a group of soldiers. The last boy left walking receives a large sum of money and the prize of their choice. So like this book, what's so good about it is the like human drama that unfolds over the course of the walk. And it's like, it's just the walk. That's the whole book, you know, like as far as I remember, because it's been a couple of years since I read it, like it doesn't go outside of the walk really all that much, if at all. And my pitch is let Mike Flanagan direct this because he's done a lot of Stephen King things already. And then my other pitch is have a lot of one takes. You can't make it a complete one take movie because like it's longer than 90 minutes if you're walking without end. It like lasts a few days, you know. But like the visuals of like people's shoes falling through and leaving blood trails behind and like just the weariness on people's faces, you know, you could cast a lot of interesting young actors. It's such a great premise for like a lot of good drama. And apparently there have been a lot of directors who are possibly going to adapt it. Like I think George A. Romero is maybe going to adapt it in the 80s. Frank Darabont, which makes sense because he also does every other Stephen King. Yeah. And then most recently, do not know how to pronounce his name, Andre Ovidral, something like that. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark was his big thing he directed. Interesting. But yeah, I would let Mike Flanagan do it. That would be my pick.
I feel like I would like Mike Flanagan direct any horror that I want.
Sure, I'm also happy with that. But like especially because he's so good at the one takes. Because there's that episode of Hill House where it's like the 2 storms, and that has a lot of long one take camera work. And Midnight Mass has a 10-15 minute one or something like that at the beginning of one of their episodes too. So I think that would be super cool. It's a great premise. It's Stephen King, so of course it's interesting. And yeah, that's my pitch.
Dang. Well, I added to my to read list. So it's on my Amazon wish list, so I'm going to get it at some point. It reminds me of like, he wrote this and then probably came up with the idea for Running Man.
Yeah.
It kind of just built out of that because I've read Running Man. The Running Man, I've read The Mist, I've read it. So I've read a decent amount of his books, and I even have more that I haven't read yet. Yeah. I'm on the last book of the Dark Tower saga.
Yeah, I need to do those. That's an undertaking.
Oh, gunslingers. Gunslingers. I just wish that the movie was better.
Yeah, I've not seen that. I'm staying far away.
I do not blame Idris Elba or Matthew McConaughey. All I can remember is Matthew McConaughey like going up to somebody with his chest out and just being like, burn. And they just light you on fire. I'm just like, oh my God. This movie either has to lean more into this hamminess or needs to take itself more serious.
Yeah.
You're just kind of floating in the middle there. So shifting gears a little bit to, you know, the thing that comes out getting us hyped for movies, movie trailers.
Yeah.
So Foster, what is your favorite movie trailer?
Okay, I am going to rattle off a couple here, but my main answer, which speaking of Stephen King, is the It Chapter 1 first trailer. And the reason why is because I was reading this book beforehand and it took me forever. It is like the version I have is 1,100 pages. I like physically reading. I don't love doing audiobooks as much just because your attention can easily wander. But I have listened to audiobooks. I don't mean to like bash people who do them. They're very fun. But man, it was an achievement for me to finish that book, especially because like the last couple hundred pages have some wacky things in it.
Some weird things.
Yeah, like there's one thing in particular, perhaps. And this trailer came out like just very shortly after I finished it, and it is perfect for this book. The kids that they cast are perfect. Like they're so spot on to like what I had pictured in my head. It was amazing. There's this shot of this red balloon slowly coasting across the library floor. Amazing. The dark, moody, rainy imagery at the beginning when Georgie's running and then like an idiot knocks his head on the thing, but whatever. Like
dumb kids.
Yeah, stupid idiot children. Anyways, so good. And there's like this sound effect that they use in this trailer, this like siren thing that they use that's so
like
creepy.
It was like that like strange like unnerving thing that they kept reusing. It's just like, nope, don't like this.
And then Bill Skarsgård is incredible. So side note, I know everyone loves Tim Curry, and I love Tim Curry, of course, and I think he's amazing as Pennywise. I think Bill Skarsgård is a better Pennywise. I think like what Bill Skarsgård is doing is like transformative. And I think it's on the level almost of Heath Ledger's The Joker. And I look at him in that sewer scene and like things he's doing with his eyes, you know, and the voice is so weird. It's such a weird performance. Even It Chapter 2, which is kind of a disappointment. He's amazing in every single scene. So like seeing him in the trailer come to life like that was incredible. So that's like I also watched that trailer like 70 times when it came out. I just read it on my phone over and over again because I couldn't believe it was real. I was so hyped for this movie. So that's like my personal favorite. Just to rattle off then a couple others, I'll go quicker through these. I love the first Dunkirk teaser where you just see like the 100 men lined across the dock, and then you hear the plane that comes closer, and then all of a sudden they just slowly with their like metallic World War I hats like duck lower into the dock, and just seeing like hundreds of extras all at once, and you know it's real because it's Christopher Nolan. Ooh, chills. And of course the Hans Zimmer ticking clock score, amazing. Ooh, love that teaser.
That the Supermarine.
Yes.
It's like the and just like I am going to have a heart attack.
Yeah, I love the ending of that track. The like, and it keeps getting higher and higher. That's like one of my hype me up type.
Yeah.
I love the Tragedy of Macbeth teasers. Although honestly, with a movie that looks that good, you could have just done anything and it would have been amazing. But like the dripping blood, you know, so good. And Catherine Hunter as the witches, she's ridiculous, and her voice is just out of this world and creepy and weird. I love it.
Catherine Hunter, Gollum.
Yes.
Basically.
I know she's so amazing in that. She's my favorite thing about that whole movie. I watched it again a couple weeks ago. She's so cool. Ooh, I just I like how weird it is. Then also Emma, which we talked about also last week, has a great trailer. This is I think like truly one of the best trailers ever, is that first one, because you have Josh O'Connor in this time of man's great innocence, and then Bill Nighy, innocence, no. You know, it's so good. And every time I saw it, this movie is so perfectly my sense of humor too. I love like snobby British humor, like it's the best. And the color palette is amazing. It looks incredible. I think it has like a 6 point something on IMDb. That is ridiculous to me. Nonsense, people. It is such a good movie.
That trailer captures the personality of that film perfectly.
Yes, and the Vivaldi soundtrack that's playing behind it, perfect. And then like at the end, is it Miranda Hart comes up to the like such news, you know, and then Anya Taylor-Joy just taps it's perfect. I love this trailer.
And the exaggerated like creak of the like little window opening.
So that's a random one. And then the other one I gotta mention, this is kind of like 2 in 1, but some of the Godzilla movies, the 2014 Godzilla, which by the way is a bit underrated. That trailer with the halo jump or whatever, you just see the like 15 or 20 men jumping out of the plane or whatever, and you just hear and then it cuts to the faraway shot, and you just see like a few men falling from the orange stormy sky, and then I feel like you see maybe Godzilla illuminated a little bit in the background. Chills. Ooh, yep. I love it. And then the Godzilla King of the Monsters also had some awesome trailers, because they took all the best images from that movie and put them in the trailer.
Do you mean they took all the scenes with actual monsters in them and put them in the trailers?
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Because I remember, so that was, quick side note, that was a weird movie going experience for me, because they randomly had a 5 p.m. showing of that opening night at the AMC near me. I'm like, 5? Okay, I'm gonna go. I left work early, and like this AMC was literally, before it went out of business during COVID, was 10 minutes from my job and where I lived, because I used to walk to work. And I drove over there, met up with my now fiance and my brother, and just getting ready for this movie. And then 2 hours later, be like, why was there 15 minutes of monsters in this movie and a whole bunch of stupid human nonsense? Yeah. And here's the thing. I have nothing against human drama and monsters movies, but make it intelligent. Don't make these characters dumb. And that was the big difference between like the 2014 Godzilla, I thought had an interesting and well paced out story. I just personally didn't think that Aaron Taylor Johnson's character was that interesting. He kind of was like bland, and then they set you up to love Bryan Cranston, and then they take him away from you. But then King of the Monsters, like that whole movie just had really dumb characters in it, and it had a ridiculous cast. I'm like, why are you making all these characters so dumb? I don't care. I want more of these big monsters. And they're enjoyable. Like when those monsters are on screen, my God, the filmmaking and the intensity of all that, and like those trailers were amazing.
Especially the Godzilla and Mothra, Mothra? No, Ghidorah. Sorry, we're running towards each other. Hypes up every single time. But then, like, of course, in the movie, you see that same shot, and then all of a sudden, a helicopter just floats in front of them.
Why? I want to see them fight. Get the hell out of here. But yeah, those trailers were amazing, and they did a really good job with them. They even I don't think they were as cool, but like the Godzilla versus Kong, it's like they sold it well, and they just have a history of making some really cool trailers. And even like Kong Skull Island had some cool trailers to it too. All the dad rock in it. Just like, let's throw some credence in here.
Yeah, I feel like at least Godzilla versus Kong really delivers on the monster action. Like you see them in the frame the full time and they're fighting. And for that reason, I really had fun with it. But
But now I know you're going to definitely appreciate some of these other questions here, because I know how much we talk about music and movies together. So Foster, what's a song, like your favorite use of a song in a movie?
Okay. If I gave you any other answer than this, I would be lying. So it's like a pretty typical answer, but it's Don't You Forget About Me from The Breakfast Club at the end of that movie. It's so good.
Up in there. And just like that final shot just works so well, and it just captures a whole entire generation of 80s like teenagers.
Yeah, and it fits with the themes of the movie too. Like when they have that sit down conversation, and they're like, "What if you see me in the hallway over the next week? Are you going to say hello to me?" It's like, maybe not, probably not.
And that's such a shame. And like the Breakfast Club is my brother's favorite movie. Like my brother is a huge Brat Pack fan, like all the John Hughes and everything. And I remember watching that movie with my brother a lot growing up. And that's just like such a perfect use of the song. And I don't think you could think of that movie without thinking of the song too. And that's I think that says a lot.
Yeah, I was in Five Guys last week, and it played on the radio, and the people behind the counter were singing, like full volume singing. I mean, this is New York City, so people are nuts, but like, like I don't know, it's impossible not to get into this song. Like you're saying, it's impossible not to think of this movie. Honorable mention is when they use this at the end of Pitch Perfect, because that's in their final performance, like what am I like the medley, I guess, of songs. Yeah.
The medley that they wind up doing.
Yeah, they use the song because Becca and can't remember his name are they're talking about like the best movie endings of all time throughout. That's like one of the running themes, and they talk about the Breakfast Club, and so then she uses it in the final performance, and there you go. So that's fun too, and it's kind of course capitalizing on your love of the Breakfast Club, but it works.
It works. Now, what's that score, Foster?
Yes,
so,
I'm ready. Here we go. Don't even finish the question.
No, okay. Go ahead.
What
are those scores, Foster?
My go-to scores. Okay, so I am a crazy movie score person. I would like pit my own movie score fanaticism against like most other people. This is like my favorite area of music. I won't like hijack this podcast or anything, but I'll give you a few. My go-to ones that I listen to all the time. So anything Harry Potter, I do listen to. I especially love the Desplat scores from the last two, but the Nicholas Hooper ones I think are really underrated, and I feel like he's barely done anything else apart from 5 and 6, those Harry Potter movies, which is kind of strange. Of course, the John Williams ones are good, and then Patrick Doyle does the fourth one kind of randomly, which has good moments too, but I think it's the weakest of the 8. Also, the James Newton Howard Fantastic Beasts scores are great too. Okay, so those are like, that's my real answer, but that's like the boring. Everyone knows Harry Potter. Moving on, getting down to the nitty gritty ones. So these are my go-tos. In Bruges is one that I go to all the time. It's Carter Burwell. It has this beautiful little piano theme that perfectly works with this kind of melancholy, darkly funny, humorous tone of the movie.
And that just reinforces to me why I feel like Martin McDonagh loves him some Coen brothers. Yes. Why all of his movies feel like Coen brothers movies, because it's Carter Burwell too.
Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah, that's one where I listen to. By the way, just like my criteria for choosing these is ones where I listen to the full album rather than individual tracks. So like these are the ones where I can listen to any track and I'm into it. And so this one is just great. Also, so 2 directors have great soundtracks throughout their movies. One is Wes Anderson, especially when Desplat takes over Fantastic Mr. Fox onward. Yeah. So that, Moonrise Kingdom, Grand Budapest, and Isle of Dogs are the ones I really listen to. I haven't gotten like into French Dispatch yet, but it's obviously a good score. Those I listen to all the time. And then M. Night Shyamalan, his early movies, from Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, Village, Signs, The Village. Did I say The Village already? Whatever.
Yeah.
Those scores, I'm going to say especially The Village, are insane. The Village, I think, is the only one of those that was nominated, and it really is a good score. I think Finding Neverland beat it. I don't know that score, but The Village to me
it's a nice score.
It is.
Like it's nice. It's a nice score. It fits really well with the movie. But like, I wouldn't pick that over any James Newton Howard score, to be honest.
These scores are just ridiculous, and I really like M. Night Shyamalan, like his early stuff in particular. I know he's kind of, obviously hit or miss, but honestly, that's kind of the fun of him. Is like you never really know what you're getting. Like,
am I going in for a dumpster fire here, or am I going to be legitimately shocked?
But like, how fun is that to go into the theater and to truly have no clue? Like it literally could be anywhere from 1 out of 10 to 10 out of 10. I find that kind of thrilling. But like his early movies are some of my favorites, and were probably like pretty formative for me in terms of becoming a movie fan. Like especially Sixth Sense and Unbreakable. Yeah, but those scores, I love the Sixth Sense score. It's like this creepy piano music, like there's one track called like Run to the Church or something like that. That's a great one. Unbreakable is great. Like you just picture him in his coat, which doubles as his like superhero costume, rising from the rain or whatever in that final confrontation, I guess.
I love the Signs one. And like Signs for me personally has a very special place for me as like a fan of movies. And like even just like the opening credits.
Yeah.
And especially as like when Mel Gibson's like looking all around the living room towards the end, and like he has that one last vision, like memory of his wife, and then comes back and it just keeps swelling and swelling and swelling. I'm just like, oh my God, that score works so well for me.
Yeah, those Signs in the Village, those movies, not the scores, but the movies I'm getting more into now. Like Signs I saw, I don't know, maybe for the first time 5 years ago, but like Sixth Sense, for whatever reason, I watched when I was very young, like a little child watching The Sixth Sense. Okay. But The Village, I've come to think is kind of underrated. I think it's Deakins, your man. It's beautiful.
It's such a beautiful movie. And I remember watching it because I knew the twist going in by the time I saw it. And it didn't piss me off as much as it pissed everybody else off.
Yeah.
And it's other films do the same thing. I was watching this movie that came out very recently. I'm not going to say the movie because it would kind of ruin the movie. But it's does the same exact twist, literally the same exact twist. And well, maybe not literally. Village takes it one step further. Yeah. But that film is still really intense and scary. Even though once you find out later what's really going on, it doesn't take away from the fact that those scenes are really scary. Yeah. And it's emotional. And it's kind of crazy to think about. People would do something like that, wouldn't they?
Yeah, and thematically, the twists at the end really work and make it a really interesting, I don't know, one, not exactly what would you do in this situation type of scenario, but leaves you a lot to think about. Also, I gotta say, I should have mentioned this, Lady in the Water also has a really good score. It's just I'm kind of blocking that movie out of my mind, but even that one is shot beautifully.
Well, I even listened to the score from the movie that should not be named because people hated adaptation so much. That has a pretty cool score, and I'm just at least he has great music. And Last Airbender sucked. Yeah, but the music in it is really impressive.
Yeah, it's just James Newton Howard. He really should be. I mean, I feel like he's ranked below Hans Zimmer and Desplat and John Williams and all of them. No, he is right up there with them for me, and he's still great because those Fantastic Beasts scores are really cool. Some of the things he does in them, I think. There's one in the Fantastic Beasts one, my one recommendation. I think it's called Jacob's Bakery or something like that. It's one of the last tracks on the first movie. Really, really fun.
I'm trying to see because I felt I watched a movie recently and I really like that score. I'm oh, of course it was James Newton Howard.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm News of the World. I remember watching that and just being wow, I really like that score. And then the credits roll, I'm that's why. And also he did Jungle Cruise.
Yeah. I feel
Raya and The Last Dragon, it looks like.
Yeah. I feel a lot of these composers though who are on top of the world 10, 20, 30 years ago, like Danny Elfman, are not always making the best scores these days in comparison. But James Newton Howard, I feel has been so consistent for so long. I mean, really, I think my favorite composer right now, and the correct answer is probably Desplat. Of the past 30, 40 years, it's probably Hans Zimmer. And then if you're going all time, it's John Williams or Ennio Morricone probably. But yeah, there you go.
Love me some Morricone.
Of course.
All of it.
Yeah.
Oh, and I might be using some of his music at my wedding.
Oh, okay.
Cinema Paradiso.
Okay. I was thinking there's a number of different ones you could.
I'm gonna roll up to my wedding into the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. No, I'm thinking Once Upon a Time in America. I know has really beautiful stuff too. I love Untouchables. That music is so good
because you have the beginning part. And just through that whole entire really impressive opening credit scene, love it. And then even you have all the indulgent and exuberant Al Capone scores where it's just this big kind of score to it when they're going through his ridiculous hotel and into his bedroom and stuff like that. But then the really triumphant score, especially at the end, as that camera's panning up to the sky and it's just swelling and everything.
Yeah. And Once Upon a Time in the West is honestly probably my favorite of his. The like all the harmonica stuff is so good. Like the opening, like really half hour to an hour, like has a number of really tense scenes.
Like
So
the whole
good.
entire opening, which he really wanted that trio waiting on the train to be Clint Eastwood, Lee Van Cleef, and Eli Wallach, and wanted Charles Bronson to shoot them all.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure like Clint Eastwood wouldn't have it.
Yeah.
So, because, you know, I don't think Clint Eastwood would be like, you want to kill me in the first 15 minutes of the movie?
Yeah.
No. And just like walk away. So, but yeah, we could probably talk scores for hours. But my last question for you, Foster, is what do you wish Hollywood would stop doing?
This is, I feel like, the hardest one because it's harder to narrow it down, I guess.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, my like quick joke answer would be I wish movies would stop being so long. I feel like every movie, my most common issue is it's just like make it 20 minutes shorter.
We're gonna have the Batman be 2 hours and 55 minutes.
Yeah. I'll pick one. I have two that I'm bouncing between. Okay. I'll pick one. One of them is more about the marketing. That's what I'm going with right now, rather than the actual movie itself. I feel like too much is revealed in trailers and promotional materials, and I'm going to give you a few examples. Think Spider-Man No Way Home. How cool would it have been if you really didn't know what that movie was going into it? Like what a surprise, you know?
Well, apparently the reason they gave anything away in the trailer was because Alfred Molina opened his mouth.
Yeah.
Because apparently they were going to market it as like a Spider-Man versus Doctor Strange type movie.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Which is like maybe like the first third half of the movie, they do have like an altercation with each other, but like they weren't going to reveal any of that. Which can you imagine?
Yeah.
Can you imagine going in and seeing like Doc Ock for the first time? You just being like,
it would have been so cool. So for me, the most pure example of that is the end of Split, which I'm going to spoil it. So there's your warning. Who in the world would have predicted that? Like,
so question for you. Did you pick up on the musical motif tease when James McAvoy was talking to the mirror before they cut to the diner? Because something in the back of my head started being like, that sounds familiar. And then it cut to the diner, and then Bruce Willis is there. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Just lost it.
So I think this was 2016. I did not know the Unbreakable score at that point.
Okay.
I mean, now I've seen Split again and I know it, but like at the time I didn't. Although because I like scores so much, I could instantly tell it was like feels different. Because like there's a different composer now that he works with.
Yeah.
Whose name I think I'm blanking on, but yeah, because like all the strings that they use in that track, it's so good. But like I was shaking literally my hands for like 10 minutes after I was walking out of the theater. I could not believe it because, you know, when the reviews came out for Split, everyone knows there's going to be some sort of twist because it's M. Night Shyamalan and it's like a joke at this point. But like the way people sort of tried to talk around it, they would be like, you know, I'll just say there's a really interesting ending to this movie, or other people would say like, you know, if you're worried that Split is losing you in the last third, maybe wait a little bit longer, you know. And all these reviews just hyped it up in my mind. I was like, there's a Shyamalan twist and it's going to be great. I was so hyped for this, and so the whole movie, I'm analyzing and I'm like thinking of all the possible things. This was the last thing on my mind. And what a great surprise. Of course, Glass happened and it was moving on. But that end of Split is like the single greatest moment of my life.
I left irrationally angry from Glass.
Yeah, I honestly haven't gone back to it. I'm kind of nervous. But here's the thing, that movie looks beautiful. It looks so good. And the acting is pretty good too from 2 out of 3 of the the main.
I felt like Bruce Willis tried in this one. It
Yeah.
just, he was in it for like, he just disappears for like a decent chunk of the movie because they
Yeah.
couldn't afford him.
Also, it helps that they use like unused footage from Unbreakable.
Because like they only had him for like 4 or 5 days or something.
Yeah.
So they had to like make the most of it because he was way too expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm turning every question in this podcast to M. Night Shyamalan. I'm noticing.
But like, I'm sure you had some other examples, so we'll get back to that. Because like you brought No Way Home in terms of the marketing and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. So Thor Ragnarok is another one. Like in the trailer, you see Hulk and you have that, we know each other, he's a friend from work, which is a funny line. But then you see that trailer 500 times to the point where in the theater when Hulk shows up, it's like, yeah, I knew he was going to be in it. And this is the scene that I've seen 500 times. Imagine you didn't know he was going to be in it. And this is like before, I guess, this was before Infinity War, and all that like madness where there's crossovers galore. Like it would have been such a fun theater moment, and it turns the scene into kind of nothing.
They need to do marketing like they did for Endgame.
Yeah,
they gave nothing away.
Mm-hmm.
Like they did straight up lie to, like they literally digitally remove people from scenes and stuff like that to keep secrets and stuff like that, which like that honestly doesn't bother me that much.
Yeah,
I know that bothers some people because it's like lying, but I'm just like, I would have rather have not seen a smart Hulk, Professor Hulk, whatever you want to call him, walking in that door behind Rocket and just seeing Rocket walk in the trailer than seeing him and getting that spoiled for me. But like they gave away nothing in the Endgame trailer, and it like they barely showed any footage past the first 30 minutes. Like there's like those couple of shots of like their feet walking up to Thanos, which in hindsight is in the third act of the movie. But like most of that, they sold that movie, and it's the highest grossing film of all time until Avatar's like, let me come back out again. But like they should do stuff like that. And then they doubled down on the Hulk thing because then they showed him fighting Fenrir, and then they showed him trying to punch Surtur in the face too, and it's just like, do we need any of that in this trailer?
I'm not even opposed to when they make footage used specifically for the trailers and don't show it in the movie. Like I feel like Rogue One did that with a number of shots because I remember.
To be fair, they reshot
that's
like the whole entire movie.
Yeah.
So like that's why that happened.
Yeah.
Like, I know what you mean. Like the one shot for Infinity War, running through the jungle, and Hulk's there and all that stuff. No, that didn't happen. That was just in the trailer.
Yeah, like the job of the trailer should just be to sell you on the tone of the movie. Like here's the vibe of what you're about to see, and then it's up to you. It's like it shouldn't be to give you the plot,
Well, the tricky thing is, and I try to be understanding of this conversation when this comes up too, because it's like people who see tons of movies have a different perspective than the most people that go see movies aren't people that are like cinephiles and stuff like that. And apparently marketing shows the regular mainstream audience need you to spoon feed them everything, which is why they do.
Yeah.
And which is why I avoid trailers unless I'm sitting in a theater watching it.
Yeah. So another example of one I wish they had not revealed is that Harrison Ford was going to be in Blade Runner 2049. Because you have that great scene where, what are they going to he's going to Las Vegas, Ryan Gosling, in that orange, misty environment. And imagine not knowing that Harrison Ford was going to be in that scene. And then there he is with his, hey, he's like, he's interesting in interviews now.
Yeah. Well, they needed to try to sell the movie. And they're like, Harrison Ford's in this.
Yeah.
Still didn't make money. So
I know it would have been so great though. And like I think they show that scene in the trailer, and of course he's on all the posters. So it's like the fact that he's in this movie isn't even remarkable by the time you get to it, because you're just prepared for it by all the trailers and all the posters and all the everything. And and that, I don't know, like it could have been like an, oh my gosh, I can't believe they got him back type of moment. And like that whole scene, it builds up so perfectly to the reveal of Harrison Ford, but of course you already know what's coming because you've seen the trailer.
It's basically like, it's like you have to go to like Disney Plus series to get all the fun surprises that you want out of life. Sitting watching all these Star Wars shows and be like, wait, what happened?
Yeah.
Who's in this episode? But like, that's the thing. And I definitely agree. I wish in some kind of warped world we could have where like cinephiles who don't want everything ruined for them in movies just get shown different trailers.
Yeah.
Or like you could block, like, I guess your option going to the theater is going in late, just not watching the trailers beforehand, but then you're disrupting people. And, but you know, it's tough. And I do wish they gave away less, you know, Sony's the worst. Like, I can't believe they even kept anything a secret in No Way Home after what they did with the Amazing Spider-Man trailers.
Oh my gosh. Amazing Spider-Man 2 showing the final shot of the movie.
And giving away Green Goblin, which did not need to be in any trailer.
I mean, he didn't need to be in the movie, but that's another.
That's a whole other conversation. He shouldn't have been in the movie, but that's a whole other conversation. They pulled a Venom. Venom didn't need to be in Spider-Man 3.
Oh, Venom is a good example because that trailer, so like the first Venom movie, spoilers, sorry, makes you think he's dead and gone forever and Eddie Brock is going to live without Venom for a while or something like that. But of course, you know that's not going to happen because the big scene that they keep showing in the convenience store from the trailer that you've seen 500 times hasn't happened yet. So of course Venom is not dead. It's like literally the trailers are ruining tension of certain scenes, but I don't know.
You know, but how I always like to wrap up Lost in the Wasteland is my guest gets to ask me a question.
Yes.
So Foster, what would you like to ask the Wasteland Reviewer?
Okay. If you've been asked something like this before, just let me know and I'll give you a different one.
Okay.
But here we go. You get to walk into the world of any movie. You can explore the locations, interact with the characters, and you can even like see your favorite scenes occurring in real time if you want. Which movie world, like think like Hogwarts or something like that, would you want to go into? I'll give you, my answer would be I would really love to see Jurassic Park before the events of the movie, but
before it all goes sideways.
Yeah, exactly.
I would love to go to Middle Earth. I want to take a, you know, maybe even, I don't know if I want to get in on the fight or not. There's quite a few of them. Like I'm just like going through. Oh, I always wanted to see Rohan. Wait a minute. Where'd everybody go? You get to, I would love to go to Middle Earth because, you know, in the actual 3 Lord of the Rings films, it's just absolutely gorgeous New Zealand.
Yeah.
In the Hobbit movies, it's the best green screens they can find in New Zealand. But like, it's such a beautiful, makes me want to go see New Zealand, honestly.
Yeah. I was thinking like you could go there and see some things.
Well, exactly. And it's such a cool and interesting world. And I love Lord of the Rings so much. And I would argue it's the best fully realized fantasy world ever put on film. Like they nailed it.
Yeah.
And I hope they don't ruin it.
Yeah.
On Amazon.
That's
but I just think it would be so cool to go through all the different places. Watch like the Battle of Minas Tirith from like a couple of mountains over.
Yeah.
Just like standing on top there, just watching them, like not getting involved in this. But like it has so many just fascinating places in it, fascinating creatures. Definitely want to avoid some Nazgul. Definitely wouldn't be a fun time.
Yeah.
And you know, going to Fangorn and probably getting freaked out by the fact that these trees are moving. And all that. But like it's such a cool fantasy world. Because like the second would be the Wasteland. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to try to survive there though. I do need some leather though.
Yeah, we're picking some kind of dangerous places here.
Yeah. You know, hey, it's dangerous, makes it more exciting, right?
Sure.
Just hang out in the Shire. Shire looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Until like if they actually adapted the part from the books where like Saruman shows up and it's just like, oh shit. But they obviously did not do that in the movies. You have to watch the extended edition to find out what happened to Saruman, and that was brutal.
Yes. Yeah.
I wish they kept that in though.
Me too.
That would have been, I think, you know what? That probably pushed it like close to rated R territory. So they're like,
yeah. Also, the mouth of Sauron scene, that wasn't in the theatrical, was it? That design of that mouth is nasty.
So I'm going to end my talking here on the show with some fun facts.
Okay.
So that is actor Bruce Spence.
Okay.
And Bruce Spence is the gyro captain from Mad Max. He is the mouth of Sauron. He is the train man from the Matrix. So like Revolutions, like the hobo looking dude. He is the like leader of Utapau, that really tall guy from Revenge of the Sith that Obi-Wan Kenobi talks to, who lets him know that Grievous is on planet. He's in the movie that does exist, which is the third Chronicles of Narnia movie, because there is a third one that nobody remembers, but he's in that too. I'm like, just think about the amount of franchises this man's in, and like he's in the most random small roles and everything in them, except for Mad Max. Like he had like a meaty role, and then they even brought him back for Thunderdome as like was he a different character? I don't know, but he had a kid in it, and I just thought that was an interesting thing. But like that mouth of Sauron scene, seeing Aragorn just like just like chop his head off, and he's so creepy, because this is where, so I love the Lord of the Rings games. I played the hell out of Two Towers, which was really challenging. Helm's Deep, impossible. There's one where you have to like destroy a catapult, ridiculous. But I played the hell out of Return of the King and the hell out of Third Age. Both of them have all these scenes from the extended editions. And I'm playing these games having never seen the extended editions. Like, where did they get this footage from? And you in the Return of the King game, before like the final battle at the Black Gate, you have to fight the mouth of Sauron first. And like, I'm like, who is this guy? And then you see the extended edition, like, oh, that's who that guy is. And he's just disgusting. Like those razor sharp teeth and just like the blood coming down and everything. And just like, why'd they cut that? Probably also because they straight decapitated him too. I don't know. But there's my little tangent. But yes, let's go to Middle Earth and have some fun.
Let's do it.
Speaking of fun, Foster, this was a blast as always. I always enjoyed chatting movies with you, and I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you again.
You all should go check out Foster on Letterboxd and Twitter. So one more time, if you want to say your handle.
Oh, yeah, because it's unnecessarily confusing. My handle I've chosen, it's just something I think like everyone, I just picked it when I was very young, and I've just stuck with it forever. FOSTH101.
There you go. Thank you again, Foster, and thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.